On Personally Speaking this week, our guest is Christine Ebersole, great actress, great singer, two-time winner of the Tony Award. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Personally Speaking. I'm your host, Msgr. Jim Lisante. And Tony Award-winning actress and singer Christine Ebersole joins me now. Christine's dual role of Edith Beale and Little Edie in Grey Gardens won her a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. Her other memorable New York roles include the hit revival of 42nd Street, her Tony-nominated performance of Elizabeth Arden in War Paint, and her Tony-nominated performance in Dinner at 8. Christine's film credits include Amadeus and The Wolf of Wall Street. She was a regular cast member of Saturday Night Live, and Christine currently stars in the Chuck Lorre hit CBS sitcom Bob Hearts Abishola. Christine has a new album out available through Club 44 Records called After the Ball, which features American classics by composers Jerome Kern to Joni Mitchell. The new recording finds Christine reflecting on life, love, and family now that the last of her 3 children has flown the nest. She's here with us today to talk about that, as well as about her career, her family, and the faith and values that sustain her. Joining me now, I'm so pleased to welcome back to Personally Speaking, actress and award-winning singer, Christine Ebersole. Before we get to our interview with Christine, let's listen to her singing. This is a cut from her new album called After the Ball.
It's wonderful, it's marvelous. You should care for awful nice, it's paradise, it's what I love to see. You made me feel so glamorous, you can't blame me for feeling amorous, so amorous, so it's wonderful, it's marvelous. You should care for me.
All right, I'm going to talk today with our guest, Christine Ebersole, about many of the loves of her life. One of the great acts of love is that she put a lot of time and energy into an album that she's produced recently called After the Ball, right? And
Yes.
I'm wanting you to tell me how you decided to make the album, why you decided to make the album, and specifically the song choices. We will have played before the interview a clip from It's Wonderful. And I'm just wondering how you came to decide on this particular theme, After the Ball.
Well, I decided on it because my children, we became empty nesters. The children all left for college.
Okay.
And that as I was nearing my dotage. So that's really what it's from.
Okay, so it comes
That
out
was
of
the inspiration. You know, what are you like? What is your identity in a way?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a time of self-reflection and a time of looking back, not only on them as children, but also yourself as a child.
Christine, for our listeners and watchers who may not know, one of the things that's kind of striking about Christine is that she adopted not once, not twice, but 3 times, 3 beautiful children. I mentioned that because not long ago we had Kristen Chenoweth on, and she talked about, meeting her birth mother and asking her adoptive mother if it was a problem. And her adoptive mother said, no problem at all. She said, because that woman gave you life and I gave you a life, and you gave a life to these 3 kids. Would you do it all over again?
Of course. Of course I would.
that was the right answer, Christine.
Why did you ask that question? I want to know why you asked that.
I will tell you why I asked it. To be honest with you, a lot of my friends who have adopted have found themselves, to be honest, particularly with adoption from other countries, inheriting children with complex difficulties that they didn't know about ahead of time, and spending most of their time with their children, not just raising them and loving them and enjoying them, but trying to uncomplicate the lives of the children. And so if you look back on the experience of raising these three kids as mostly joyous, good, positive experience, that's not always everybody's experience. And I'm just wondering for you, is it a
Okay,
positive?
so
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's a built-in.
Okay.
Here's the built-in. They're adopted.
Yes.
So that's its own unique set of emotional,
Mhm.
physical, spiritual, what's contained in that.
Yeah.
And they're all from broken homes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I wasn't adopted. So I mean, I can only imagine the that sense of abandonment. And I know, I mean, I didn't have any illusions about it. I
Mhm.
knew that I could never give them what was taken from them.
Yeah.
They couldn't ever grow inside of me. But if they didn't grow inside of me, they wouldn't be them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be them.
Yeah.
Different DNA.
Yeah.
So, and everything else. So that's a given. So rather than thinking about it in terms of just sort of the randomness
Mhm.
of what our culture teaches us about, when you say lucky, that implies like a throw of the dice, and
Yeah.
that I never like to use that word because I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
I believe that God has a plan, and we can never know the mind of God, but we can just try to be obedient to his word and to follow his guidance. So in terms of these children, it wasn't just a random thing that they because God knows us before the formation of the world. So he knows every fiber on our heads,
Yeah.
every fiber of hair on our heads before the formation of the world. Now, you can't conceptualize that. You can't get behind the mind. You can't understand the mind of God. So you can only trust in the mind of God and know that he had a plan and has a plan. So whatever the circumstances that those children were born in it, and whatever difficulties that because we all have difficulties that we have to overcome,
Right.
but the difficulties that they've had to overcome in their life, it is what God has planned.
Mhm.
And these difficulties offer us an opportunity to draw closer to him through adversity, through these trials. I absolutely know that. It's not even believing it. I know it to be true. And so whatever difficulties that we faced as a family and individually, God is offering us an opportunity to draw closer to one another and to draw closer to him.
Christine, let me ask you, you and Bill taking on these three children and raising them. I'm big into family of origin and its impact on us. Marion and Robert, your parents, what did you learn from them years ago that came in handy in terms of trying to effectively raise the three children you adopted?
I don't know. I mean, they really they were very solid people.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father were very good parents. I mean, certainly nobody's perfect, but they they were very good at guiding us to a code of conduct, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
How to conduct your life. And certainly the work ethic was there. But it was always sort of and they weren't frilly, they were it was very utilitarian and sort of how you can be useful in life. I don't know if that answers it, but it's
No, it does. It does. You learn from them, and hopefully you're doing the same thing with your children. And speaking of the good man that you've raised them with, you and I talked once before years ago, and I was intrigued by your answer then. I wonder how it's changed. I often wonder how people ever come to be married, because all you know is the past in terms of the dating years, but you have no idea what the future holds. So I ask every couple I marry, share with me in writing why, of all the people in the world, why is this the one you think you're meant to spend the rest of your life with? What does Bill bring to the experience of family life, married life? Why did you choose him?
he's funny and he's good looking
Okay.
and he's stable.
Hmm. Those are great things. No, those are great.
Yeah.
And we should get a copy of the show and let him know that you still think he's good looking, which is wonderful. I like to hear that.
He is. I was just saying that to a friend last night when he came into the restaurant, and it was from a distance. I just looked at my friend and I said, "He's very good looking." You know, this is after 35 years together.
That's
So,
terrific. No, that's good.
yeah.
And the important thing is that he's a good looking guy to you, which is the most important thing of all, Now, you probably wouldn't remember this, but I found it intriguing. When we talked years ago, you said, that while I'm not Catholic, I have a lot of Catholic stuff around my house. And you even mentioned having a statue of a saint.
Yes, I don't have that so much anymore.
Okay. What happened to Mary's statue? Was it Mary or St. Francis of Assisi, or who'd you have?
It was Mary, and I do have St. Francis of Assisi in the yard.
Okay.
A statue of that in the yard. But because 6 years ago I became a born again Christian.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
they're not into statues?
You know that. No idol worship. That's the first commandment, or the second one anyway.
Yeah, we don't see it as idol worship. It just directs people. Like outside my church is a grotto, because this is Our Lady of Lourdes in Massapequa Park, New York. And there's a statue of Our Lady and Bernadette. And people come at all hours of the night, and it just focuses them. I think they know that Our Lady is in heaven. They know certainly that Bernadette's in heaven, but it gives them a place to go and just away from all distractions and just focus on, let me talk to Our Lady, let me talk to our Lord Jesus, let me talk to Mary, without the distraction of regular life. But anyway, you know what? I'm glad to hear anyone is into having a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. So I'm very, very glad about your encounter with Christ. For the sake of clarity, I was saying that while we don't in any way worship statues, but that it does give people a focus on the Mother of God or on Jesus. And so if they pray in the presence of a statue, it's just to direct them up to heaven. But I'm just happy to hear that you have had a personal encounter with Christ. Anytime it happens, it's wonderful. Pope John Paul II used to say that every path to God is a good path, and we've got to honor each other's path, whether it be through the Catholic Church or born-again Christians. But let's go back for a second. We were talking a moment ago about Robert and Mary and your parents. What was your experience, Christine, growing up in terms of faith?
Oh gosh. Well, my father was Mennonite,
Oh,
and my
okay.
mother was Methodist, but they became Unitarians.
Geez.
I know it's it's one God at the most.
Right.
You know how you get rid of a Unitarian?
Tell me.
You burn a question mark on his lawn.
Oh. And for our Unitarian listeners, Christine loves everybody.
It's true, isn't it?
Well, it is true. But now, how did they, with that beautiful blend of faith backgrounds, how did they raise you?
One God at the most.
One God at the most. Okay. All right.
That's why I was like, oh, it didn't do it for me,
Right.
So
Right.
but that's why I was so attracted to the theatricality of the Catholic Church. My dearest friends, the O'Maras, 8 children, they went to mass every Sunday and invited me along. So I went to mass too.
Wow. Okay.
And
Okay.
I was very conflicted about, becoming a Catholic. when I was 8 years old. I thought I need to convert to Catholicism.
Okay. Well, this experience of,
So I was pondering these things at a young age.
yeah, a lot of people don't wrestle with that till later on. So
Yeah.
a few years ago, when you embraced the whole born again experience, how did that happen?
Well, it's hard to describe really because it's nothing I did. It was just, it's almost like being struck by lightning in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think I was coming from, more of a new age kind of a philosophy.
Right.
And there was an experience I had in a movie I did that was kind of harrowing. And it just, things that I didn't, it was like it's like that song, Amazing Grace, I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. And that saved a wretch like me, because I think, it was the precipice, the crossroads was from unbelief to belief. That I became a believer, and it was really through the grace of God. It was nothing I did really. It was God's grace that he showed me. He lifted the veil from my eyes and gave me clarity where there was so much confusion before.
Right.
And I think I really thought I was trying to, manage it all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bother God, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's like,
right.
it's like I can do it myself, but it's not, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Christine Ebersole is our guest. Christine, the hardest prayer for any Christian, Catholic or otherwise, it seems to me, is always taking seriously the words of the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. How well or how poorly does Christine Ebersole actually, ad sum, open her arms and say, Lord, whatever your will is, I'm okay with it? Are you good at that?
Well, that's the whole clarification of being saved, is that you understand what you didn't understand before. That really is, and it's putting your faith and trust in God. That's the mark of being saved. Is that you know that before you didn't know it. Yeah. Because you didn't really believe it, or believe that really God, could be bothered with you, kind of thing. And he understanding that he wants us for his own, but he can't take the ones that don't believe in him. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's sort of like, it's not so much it's not a religion, believing that the Bible isn't the inerrant word of God, which I never believed before. It was kind of a cafeteria style thing. Well, I like this part. I like this part. I don't like that part.
Right.
But that understanding that the whole of the Bible is the inerrant word of God, and when you're saved by His grace, you want to be pleasing to God. You want to be pleasing. You don't want to sin, because you want to establish that relationship with God. And it's like sin no more. It doesn't mean that you don't, because we're human beings, we still sin, but we're able to recognize it, hopefully. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to ask God to forgive us for our shortcomings, our failings, our sins, and not think, oh, there is no sin, there's no such thing. It's just sort of whatever, however you want to live. I mean, that's just, that's what they said, where God put the period on in Genesis 3, where he said, don't eat from when he said to Adam and Eve, don't eat from the tree of life because you'll die, where he put the period on it. He said, don't do that. The serpent said, did God really say that?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
puts the question mark on it. See, so
Hmm.
he's there to make you doubt God and the power and the sovereignty and the omniscience of God.
Christine, what you're saying also involves obviously a disposition of humility before God, knowing that everything I am, everything I hope to be, He's the source. So I don't take credit for it because I realize I am who He made me to be.
Yeah,
I mention
yeah,
that because when I say to people, like I did yesterday to a couple of actors from New York, because we have tons of actors on a program like this, Christine Ebersole is going to be our guest. Everyone says the same thing, that even while in war paint, she may have played one of the great divas. The truth of the matter is she's not personally. Before you discovered this personal encounter with Jesus, you've always had a kind of humility in terms of being normal, down to earth, not too impressed with yourself. Where does that come from in you?
I think that comes from my background. My mother grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
so she, her it just, she milked the cows and
That'll keep you humble.
collected
Yeah. Yeah.
the eggs from the hen house, and just that the simplicity of, like, and she was an incredible cook and, like, baked her own bread, and I mean, just that simple, connection to God's creation and nature, and just sort of what she would she would highlight that. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever seen a bluer sky? That kind of thing,
Right. Right.
just remark on the look at the leaf on that. Look at how that leaf is just, how does it know how to do that? How to
Right.
make that shape, It feels like just the magnificence of God's creation and the simplicity of that, and how God provided us with all this amazing,
Hmm.
amazing, this earth that He gave us. I mean, it's the center of it all. It's just
Yeah.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
So I think
Uh,
that's that kind of simplicity. They weren't fancy people, you
right.
know.
And
They
they
weren't at
pass that on
all.
to you. So even though you had
Yeah.
many talents and abilities, you remembered where you came from, who were the founders of your life, your parents, and our God. Now, related to that sense of that humility and the closeness you have had to your mom. For our listeners, before the program began, Christine and I were comparing notes. Her mom lived to be 100. My mom's
Yeah.
102 now. I mention that because
Awesome.
some people think that if your parents live a long time, that it must be easy then to let them go. I'm not thinking that's true, but you've actually lived
No,
through it. Your mom was part of
no.
the
And
fabric of your life.
she lived with us for 10 years.
Ah, okay.
And then when she was 95, she wasn't, her bedroom was up on the third floor. And when she was
Oh,
95, she wasn't able to walk up the stairs anymore. And it
mm-hmm.
was, it was like the hardest thing I think I ever had to do. But I was grateful because the actors home in Englewood, New Jersey, was because of my union status, being an actors equity, that I was able to get her in there, and she
Ah,
lived there for 5 years.
let's talk about one other aspect of our future, then we'll close our interview, and it's this. I love that passage in the Gospel of John, for I shall see you again, and when I see you again, our hearts will be filled with a joy that no one can take from us. The words of Christ talking about the life to come. I know because you're a believer, you know there is a life to come. Do you have any insight into what's ahead for you? Like, will you see mom and dad and all those people you love and have lost again? What will life be like in glory? Do you have any particular spiritual insight into?
I can't even fathom
Hmm.
how amazing it's going to be. I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
I can't fathom it.
Yep.
But this is the blessed assurance that I know um, who I serve,
Hmm.
and so um, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. And every morning when I wake up, it's like I'm alive.
I got
I'm
another day.
about
I got
that.
another
It's another
day.
day above the dirt,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're not promised tomorrow.
No.
And this year has been really hard, in a sense of just losing so many friends. And I lost my brother. Oh my gosh, that
Ah.
was so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. It's like, right now, I'm gonna start to cry about it. But I mean, you know, we're not promised tomorrow.
No. So seize
So,
each day, grab each day,
yeah.
live each day fully.
And so, but I'm so grateful that again, God has blessed me so much, because I was so grateful that I got to see him before he left. And I told him everything. There was not a word left unsaid. And I sang to him. The same thing with my father. I sang to them and sang all these, wonderful hymns of, I'll Fly Away and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and, Jacob's Ladder and all that stuff. We're just all those hymns of going to paradise that, I was able to share with him. And so, I can, even though I'm upset by the fact that he's gone, I can be grateful that I had him for the time I did. So I can't be anything but grateful that I had my brother for the time that I had him.
Yeah.
Even though I wish that he was still here.
Sure. I have the privilege of being a mother Irish, father Italian, and I love an Italian that when they leave somebody they love, they say arrivederci, which means until we meet again. And that's the whole story for us Christians, until we meet again. And Christine, thanks so much for being on the program again. I hope the album sells 1 million copies. Everyone loves your acting and stuff, but most importantly, just to hear someone talk comfortably, openly, unapologetically about their love for Jesus and the life to come. What a gift you are. And if you find that statue of Mary back on your lawn, it means I put it there. Okay, so
no, Mary was never on the lawn. Mary's Mary, and I mean this in a nice way. There's like an altar in the guest bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Mary's on the altar there. So
good. I'm happy to hear that.
I didn't depart with Mary.
That's what. Christine Ebersole, thank you for being a guest on our show. As we end today's program, I want to thank you all for being with us. If you need to reach me, you can write me at personallyspeakingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also go to this show or past episodes by going on YouTube and searching under Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante, where you'll be able to watch shows as well. And please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Personally Speaking is also on Facebook at Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. We're also now on Instagram at Personally Speaking Podcast. I'm privileged to serve as host and executive producer, Personally Speaking. Our producer is Lisa Jandovitz. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be with you again next time on Personally Speaking.